Okay, I think we're back up and running. I apologize. For some reason, it won't let me switch the microphone settings. I had plugged in my microphone, but it had settings that came through the laptop, so I think there was some confusion going on with between the computer and the microphone. So I hope I am now able to be heard by my audience. Hopefully, somebody tell me, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Set my phone right here. Okay, so yeah, I think my microphone is working now. So again, I just got this in the mail, hot off the presses. MBLEx Test Prep Comprehensive Study Guide and Workbook 2021 edition. So if you are looking for a study guide, this is the one to get. Massage therapy, anatomy and physiology, pathology, kinesiology, medical terminology, all of that. Really exciting stuff you need to know for the MBLEx. It's all in that book. So definitely head to Amazon.com or MBLExTestPrep.com, and you should be able to find it on either of those. Okay, so how the MBLEx Test Prep live stream works is you ask questions and I answer them. Sorry, I'm just posting the new link for the updated live stream on other places, so other people can potentially join us. So again, how this works, you ask questions about the MBLEx and I answer them. And if I talk too much, that's because I'm doing a live stream, and that's what you do. I don't want to really just sit here and stare at the screen for half an hour or however long this goes. So ask questions. I will talk. Everything will be fun, and we'll have a smashing good time, as they say. Okay, so again, I just got these books hot off the press, and they are looking as good as they possibly can, as far as I know. Haven't really examined all of them, but yeah, I like what I'm seeing. So here's an example, just some fun stuff that I have in these books. So I go over all the bony landmarks, all the muscle attachments that you need to know. And that's the key, that you need to know. Now, I know some people they get this book and they think that everything that they've ever learned in school is going to be in this book, and that's just not the case. So it's I break it down into the stuff that you need to know, not everything that you've ever learned, because I don't want you to overstudy when it comes to the MBLEx, because there is such a thing as overstudying for that test. You do not want to study more than you have to. Okay, so I kind of distill it down into the most important information, the minimum effective dose for the MBLEx. And that's how I operate with my study guides. Okay. So again, welcome to any new viewers that we've got. If you have questions about the massage and bodywork licensing exam, the MBLEx, or anything like that, just send them over into the chat. I'm staring at the chat right now, and there's not a single message yet. It's not very lively right now. Hopefully it picks up. Okay. So the MBLEx, let's just run down some important facts about the MBLEx. The MBLEx, 100 questions. You have about 2 hours to finish the test. Okay, so that's a decent amount of time for you to actually get through the exam. And I've only had one student that's ever not finished the test. And maybe the less I say about that student, the better. But there are reasons that she did not finish the test. She would sit there and stare at questions for several minutes, like 10 minutes at a time. She'd sit and stare at one question, and eventually she just ran out of time. So you don't want to do that. You will have 2 hours to finish the test. You will not run out of time if you are using common sense. It's like, even if you see you only got 15 minutes left and you got 20 questions left to answer, you're going to start speeding it up, right? So you're not going to run out of time on the MBLEx. They give you plenty of time, okay? As far as how the MBLEx works, the MBLEx is what's called an adaptive test. So it changes as you actually take the test. Okay, so if you start off getting a bunch of easy questions and you're answering those questions correctly, then what the MBLEx will start to do is it'll start to change the questions and make them a little more difficult. So every question you get right in a row, the questions are going to get harder and harder. So when you are taking your test, and this is something, I'm trying to get comfortable in this chair. This is my wife's chair. And for anybody wondering, I'm in the closet because that's our makeshift office during the pandemic, and that's just where we have her desk set up. It's actually a pretty roomy closet. Lots of space in here. There's enough space to fit a desk and a computer, and still have all of our, as you can see, all of our lovely clothes hanging up behind us. But anyway, well, man, what was I saying? I got off track. So you can't get every question. The harder the questions get, the better off you're actually doing. So something that people tend to do when they're taking the test is they start getting these hard questions, and then they start freaking out because they get questions on things that they just don't know the answer to because they've never seen the information before. And I tell people all the time in my study guides, this study guide right here, in fact, you will have questions on things that are not in this study guide. It's just going to happen. I had questions on things I had never seen before, and I'd been teaching it for years at that point, that information. So you're going to have stuff you're not familiar with on your test, and using your test taking techniques can help you figure out the answers to all of those questions and figure out, well, even if I don't know the answer, can I possibly figure it out using stuff like elimination? And this is why, hold on, I have to kick my children out of my bedroom. One sec. Okay, I'm back. So this is where we use test techniques like eliminating answers and identifying keywords and taking our time and reading every single word and every single question. We use these test techniques to help us get questions right, like questions on information that we've literally never seen before, right? I'm trying to figure out if my kid is back in the room. I locked the door, which tells me that somebody unlocked it. Anyways, so if you have any questions on the MBLEx, shoot them over to the live chat, and I will read them and I will respond to them. So feel free to do that while I check on my children again. One sec. Oh, thanks. Out. Hold it. Out. Not okay. Out. Go. Are you done with that? No. They were both in my room. Okay, so send your questions over to the live chat so we can get talking about the MBLEx. We can learn some things. I have my skeleton right over here. I got my box of bones right over here. What a weird thing to say, but listen, when you're involved in something like body work, you're just going to have something like a box of bones. Kids are killing me. I apologize. Okay. Flexors and extensors muscles. So here's the thing. Are we talking about muscles that flex and muscles that extend, or are we talking specifically about the wrist flexors and the wrist extensors? Because that's entirely a different thing. Muscles that flex versus muscles that extend. I got to know exactly what we're talking about here. So muscles that flex, if we're talking about the shoulder, we're talking about muscles like biceps brachii and pectoralis major, coracobrachialis, anterior deltoid. All those kind of muscles can flex. Okay, so one of the easier ways for me to remember flexion versus extension, or at least when I was a student, I was trying to learn flexion versus extension. I would always think about which way, I mean, obviously which way, which way it's moving, but flexion extension has to do, let me get my skeleton, maybe a little easier. All right. I got Calico here. So flexion and extension all has to do with angles, right? So a straight line like this, you look at the humerus, that's about as straight a line as you can get, as far as the anatomical position, right? So it all has to do with, stop looking at the camera, stop looking. All has to do with angles and whether we're increasing an angle or decreasing an angle, okay? So a straight line takes us back to high school math, right? A straight line, 180-degree angle, okay? So if we were to take it from 180 and then make it something like a right angle, make it 90 degrees, that would be decreasing the angle of that joint, right? So that is flexion of that joint. Now, if we were to take it from, say, 90 degrees and move it to 100 degrees, we're increasing the angle of that joint, right? So we take it from here to here, that's extension. If we take it from all the way up here, as close to 0 degrees as possible, and then we bring it down like this, even just a tiny bit, that is extending that joint. Okay, so if we can even start back here. One sec. We can start right back here at 180 degrees. So in general, when we're talking about flexion and extension, we're dealing with the anatomical position. Okay. So if we got this joint at 180 degrees and we bring it back to 270 degrees like this, that's extending the joint, right? So kind of the same thing with flexion. If you're at 90 degrees here, sorry, hitting my pop filter. My pop filter on my mic is a little, it doesn't like to stay in place. We'll just say that. Made me a little nervous. So we go from 90 degrees here. Anything that increases that angle from there is going to be extension, right? So the same thing here. We're at 270 degrees here. And if we bring it this way, even just slightly, that is flexing that joint. So we bring it all the way from 270 to 180. We're decreasing the angle of that joint, right? That's flexion. Take it from 180 up to 90, up to 45, something like that. That is decreasing the angle of that joint, and that's flexion. Okay. Now, if we are, Amanda's chat asked flexors and extensors muscles. If we're specifically talking about muscles like the wrist flexors and the wrist extensors, there really isn't a lot that you need to know in regards to each of those. Okay. The only thing that you need to know is where they originate on the body. Each one of those muscles tells you what it does and where it's located in the name. So that's one of the fun things about bones and or muscles in regards to bones is sometimes they can tell you where they originate, where they insert, what their action is, their shape. You have to know a lot of your medical terms in regards to the muscles so that you can properly break down the names of the muscles and figure out, kind of what the general idea is with that muscle. Like we look at the name biceps. If you know the term bi means two, sep means head, biceps has two heads. So there are at least two parts to it. And then the final part, brachii. The brachial region is the arm, right? So you know it's the muscle. It has two heads located in the region of the arm between the shoulder and the elbow. So this is the arm. Okay. So as far as the wrist flexors and wrist extensors are concerned, all of those muscles are going to tell you what they do and where they are. Essentially, either one of those in the name. Think about pronator teres, right? Pronator teres, pronates. Teres means kind of round and long. So it's got a round, kind of longish shape. Think about pronator, or teres major and teres minor. Those both have kind of long, kind of spindle shaped, circular, tube-like muscles, right? That's what teres means, round and long. Okay, so you think about extensor carpi radialis, longus brevis. That basically tells you everything you need to know about the muscle. It extends, it's on the radius, it's longer than another muscle, or it's shorter than another muscle, and it inserts somewhere on the carpals. Okay, so with those, you don't really need to go too far in depth in regards to studying them, and that's why they're not included in my book, which you can see right here. Let me hold this up. There we go. MBLEx Test Prep Comprehensive Study Guide and Workbook 2021. I don't go over the wrist flexors and wrist extensors more than just giving you the origin and insert or origin of both of those groups of muscles. Okay. So fun thing about these skeletons, you can buy these and they have all the attachment sites labeled on them, colors. Okay. So red is going to be the origin. It's like a muscle originates here. Let's see. Okay, here, first test question. What muscle originates right here? Right here. What muscle? So we're looking at the red. Fun thing about the wrist flexors and wrist extensors is each group, all those muscles originate on just one spot. Okay, one spot each for each group. So the wrist flexors are going to originate right here on this little point on the medial epicondyle of the humerus, right there. And then they all cross on the anterior forearm down, and they cross the wrist. And that's why they're called wrist flexors, because they cross the wrist. And again, we look at angles of joints. That's a straight line, right? The wrist joint, straight line, they will decrease the angle of the joint just like that. So we can take it, down to 90 degrees, and that's flexing the wrist joint. Okay. So the flexors of the wrist originate on the medial epicondyle of the humerus. The wrist extensors, we have to go over onto the posterior side because they are on the posterior side of the body, right? Wrist extensors you find right over here originating on the lateral epicondyle of the humerus. Okay, so they will cross over here onto the posterior side of the forearm and then cross the wrist because they're wrist extensors. And when they contract, again, straight line, they will increase the angle of that joint. Okay. Oh, well, hello, Jules. Welcome to the MBLEx Test Prep live stream. Yeah, with the pandemic and everything. Hey, listen, I am thrilled that you have passed the MBLEx. Congratulations. You did it. It's not because of me. It's because of you. Maybe you just used my tools to help. I help. I don't pass. You didn't pass because of me. I helped you. I helped prepare you. Say that. Take the credit for yourself. You did it, not me. Okay. Well, listen, massage therapy, it is one of those careers where you're not going to do it most people not going to do it their entire life. Although March of 2020, that's a little soon to throw in the towel on the massage career, but everybody's got their own circumstances, and maybe someday you can get back to it. It's just you can I don't know, you'll figure it out. Yeah, the pandemic is one of those things. Again, that's why I'm set up. I'm doing this in my closet, because that's the only place I can do it. Otherwise, you'd hear my kids running around just like they were running around in my bedroom like 20 minutes ago. Hopefully, nobody else caught that. Nobody here got to see that exciting exchange where I had to kick my children out of my bedroom twice because they kept coming in while I'm trying to do this. Anyway, so the pandemic, it's really, usually I'd be able to do this once every few weeks or so when my oldest kid was in school, and it's just not it's not happening right now. He's doing full distance learning, and I have to sit with him and prepare him as much as I can. So, well, hey, Amanda, I'm glad to hear it. My wife's name is Amanda as well. You can see all of her lovely clothes behind me. Yeah, the study guide is going to prepare you better than any other study guide out there, but it's not going to give you the answers. You're not going to pass the test just because you read my book. You actually have to put the book to use and actually make an effort to study, which some people just don't understand, which drives me nuts. Like, I'm not the reason you pass or the reason you fail. It's you and how much work you dedicate to it and whether you properly use the tools at your disposal or not. So if I'm trying to screw in a screw to the wall, I'm not going to use a hammer on it. Like, that doesn't, I have to use the proper tool. That's it. So yeah, sometimes I get far too much credit and sometimes I get far too much blame when people don't pass. Like, listen, I ain't guaranteeing anything. Not a single thing I guarantee. Okay. What other questions do we have about the MBLEx? I'm gonna be doing this for another half an hour or so. So, I do have to mention, I do offer tutoring. I do offer tutoring. I do tutoring on Zoom every few weeks or so. I do work at a massage school in Carson City, Nevada, and I am in the middle of the one class that I do every single year. They have me out there for about 30 hours a year. It's kind of weird, but so that I usually do it on Saturdays, and they have me out there on Saturdays. So right now, not the best time to tutor. However, I will be doing a tutoring session this coming Sunday, and I think it's a really good one. It's a practice test tutoring session. So all you have to do is sign up. It's $10 an hour. It's only 2 hours long. You sign up. It's all through Zoom. So you're going to sign up with a Zoom account, and I will email you a practice test, a full 100-question practice test that I just got done writing a couple days ago, or yesterday, I think. I think I finished it. I absolutely hate writing practice test questions. When you've written almost 4,000 of them in your life, you get a little tired of it. But I digress. So I've got a brand new practice test ready to go. All you have to do is sign up for Zoom. I will email you that practice test. And then after you take that practice test, you do not grade it. You show up to the Zoom meeting if you can. The fun thing about my tutoring is you get the video and the audio of the tutoring session afterwards. So if you can't make it, you still get that stuff. So you can still kind of participate. It's just kind of like you're in class with me, but I'm not paying any attention to you, right? So even if you can't make it, you can still make it if you understand. So you take that test, and then we go over it one question at a time. That's why this tutoring session is 2 hours long, because there are 100 questions, and it requires a lot of time to actually go over. Okay, one question at a time. So you get a complete 100-question practice test. You get a tutoring session out of it, and that session is probably one of the most important things you can do, because we figure out how you are testing and the things that you can do to improve your testing, and things that you're doing maybe not so well that you need to stop doing, and all of that fun stuff. Okay, so if you are interested, just go to my website, MBLExtestprep.com. You'll see a section right at the top that says tutoring. You click on that. There's a registration thing on that page where you can just sign up, and the second I get that email, I'm sending out your practice test, so you should get it within an hour or so. after signing up. Okay. So that's coming up this Sunday. And I also have about 23 other hours worth of tutoring already done, all those videos and audio ready to go. I'm editing the audio for one last one, and then it's all complete, and I can bundle all of those together for you if you're interested in that too. Just send me an email, david@mblextestprep.com. If you're interested in that, I can make you a pretty good deal. Like I said, I charge $10 an hour. I can get you quite a bit off of that if you're interested. What is this? No. Okay. Okay, so now that I've established that is going on, if you're interested in signing up for that tutoring session, head to my webpage, mblextestprep.com, go to the tutoring session, sign up there, and you'll get that practice test. So do we have any questions? I know I talk a lot. Listen, it's a live stream and nobody else is talking with me, so I guess I have to talk a lot. Otherwise, I'm just staring, which apparently some people want me to do. I don't understand. Whatever. Okay. I'm going to run through the comments really quick. Had to close my massage studio and closed in March. Well, that's unfortunate. Hopefully you will reopen soon. Kenya. Is massage still legal during the pandemic? Yes, you have to take precautions, at least in the majority of states. I think there are some states. I'm not sure about California, whether or not you can do it in California. Seems unsafe. Well, if you're taking the proper precautions, it should be okay. Just canceled my second attempt this Saturday. Well, canceled or rescheduled. You might want to reschedule. And deadlines spur action. When you know that something like this is coming up, when you have your MBLEx coming up, it's going to motivate you to actually put in the time to study properly and effectively. Okay, so I would recommend rescheduling that test instead of just outright canceling it, and get it scheduled for 2 months out, and that gives you a whole 2 months to schedule. And if you want to do tutoring and stuff, I'm here. Like I said, I've got 25 hours of videos ready for you. If you're interested, just shoot me an email. Okay. Well, thanks, Jules. I appreciate that, even though you're no longer here. I appreciate your kind words. Let's see. It is in Georgia. I go to a studio. They take your temperature and check your heart rate, make you sign a waiver, and sanitize hands before even entering the building. Those are a lot of the precautions that people are taking these days. And you have to leave your mask on during the massage. Yes, everybody has to wear a mask, and we still get the virus through hand-on-body contact. The likelihood of coming into contact. And listen, I'm not a doctor, so take it for what you will, but the likelihood of contracting the virus just by coming into physical, touching the virus is pretty slim. How the virus mainly is transmitted is through air droplets, kind of like influenza. So if you breathe it in, then it gets into your respiratory system. But the fun thing about the skin is the body's first line of defense, and it's really hard for things to actually get into the skin that shouldn't be there. Right? So we're exposed to, there are countless bacteria on your skin right now, countless fungus and viruses on your skin right now. You just don't know it because, they're microscopic, sometimes really, really, really microscopic, but they don't make you sick because your skin, again, is a line of defense. It allows certain things to be absorbed into the body, and it prevents other things from being absorbed into the body. So all of those pathogens, it keeps out of the body. But things like lotion can be absorbed into the skin, right? Some medications on transdermal patches can be absorbed into the skin. Well, the skin's a weird thing. Bear, no, come on. My cat's trying to jump up on me. He has very sharp claws, and he is enormous, so he will take up the entire screen if I let him. Do you think studying for a month before the test is too soon? A month. Listen. It all depends on you. It's hard, and I just got this question from somebody else today. It's hard for me to tell you how long to study for. If I were to go take the MBLEx right now, I don't need to study, right? But you're not me. and I don't know how well you know the information. I don't know what you need to study. So it's kind of all up to you to figure out how long you should study. I usually recommend between 40 to 60 hours if you're kind of unsure about how long to study. Hold on. Now my cat wants out. One sec. All right, get out. So if you're a little unsure how long to study for, 40 to 60 hours. Again, it depends on what you need to study. If you only need to study one subject, you don't want to spend 60 hours on one entire subject. That's a lot. That's a lot of studying you're going to end up doing. So in my study guide, I do have a study plan laid out, and I think that's a good way to approach the MBLEx. It breaks it down into 6 weeks of study time with 10 hours of studying per week. And you can adjust that based on how long you actually have to study and how long you don't have to study. If you have more time, obviously you can study more, even though I recommend kind of keeping your studying, I don't want to say at a minimum, but you don't want to overdo it. So when you overdo it, then you start confusing things, and it's not going to be good. Not going to be good for you. It's not going to be good for your mental health. It's not going to be good possibly for relationships and stuff like that. It's just don't overstudy is kind of the point. Okay. So I always recommend starting out studying using with medical terminology. Start your studying with the medical terminology first, because that kind of helps out with everything else. If you know your medical terms, then you can break down things, especially with pathology. Like if your weak area is pathology, you got to know medical terminology. Like there's no getting around it. You have to know medical terminology if you want to know pathology. Okay. So if you get a name like here, let me just open my study guide, my brand new study guide. I just got this in the mail. MBLEx Test Prep Comprehensive Study Guide and Workbook 2021 edition. You can find yours on Amazon.com. Just search for that, or my name right up here, David Merlino, LMT. That's a licensed massage therapist, Nevada State of Massage Therapy, number 575 in the entire state. That's not a ranking. That's just I got my license a lot sooner than most people. Let's see. I'm looking at pathology. I'm trying to find a really good. Okay, here we go. Onychomycosis. So if you know onycho, you know myco, and you know osis, that basically gives you the definition of that disease. Here's a picture of it. Lovely pictures. See, I have tons of awesome photos in my study guide that you're not going to find really anywhere else. Lots of high quality photos. So onycho means fungus, right? Or excuse me, means nails. Myco means fungus, and osis means condition. So you have fungus in the nails. It's a condition of fungus in the nails. So you got to know your medical terminology. Okay. So that's always what I recommend when you are starting out your studying. Spend time learning that. And I know it can be a little bit difficult. It's like learning another language. And the reason it's like learning another language is because it is another language. It's actually two other languages. It's both Latin and Greek. Okay. So it takes time to get good at medical terminology. And the better you are at medical terminology, the better you're going to be at things like pathology just by looking at the name of a disease, right? So even if you didn't know what onychomycosis is, you know onycho means nails, you know myco means fungus. That right there tells you it's a condition where there's fungus growing in the nails, right? So I always recommend you start your studying with medical terminology. And I do have a 2.5 hour medical terminology video on YouTube that you can study right now and get really good at. So check that out. I think it's a good video. I only spent 2.5 hours going over all that stuff. without any water either. I was quite parched by the end of that video. I also don't have any water right now, and I can feel that. So, what other questions do we have? Anyone have any questions? Any other questions? Anything you want me to go over? I got my skeleton right here, sitting right next to me. Sitting right next to me. You can see his little foot. He's waving with his foot right here. Hello, hello. I got my box of bones right over here. Now, again, box of bones and skeleton just hanging out in my closet. Some people would think that's weird, but let me drag it over. Okay. So some of this stuff, if, depending on how dedicated you are to actually passing this stuff. Do you have a video on muscles, origins, insertions, actions? Like what to do? My client says, what muscle hurts? As far as like scenario-based videos, I don't have anything like that yet. I've kicked around the idea of doing some dramatic short videos, maybe make them soap opera style, where it's super over dramatic, just so it's more memorable. I don't know. Maybe someday, maybe next year I'll figure something out. But I do have tutoring videos done where I go over all of the bony landmarks and all of the origins and insertions that you need to know. Again, I don't go over every single muscle. I just go over the ones that you need to know. I don't go over every origin. I don't go over every insertion or action or innervation or all that stuff. Just the ones you need to know to make it more manageable. Okay. So I do have videos, lecture videos, tutoring videos where we talk about all that stuff. So if you're interested, just shoot me an email, david@mblextestprep.com. Okay. So fun thing about stuff like this, if you are like super dedicated to learning this stuff and really want to get good, you can buy stuff like this from places like Amazon. You just search up disarticulated skeleton and you can find something like this, and it's not going to cost a ton of money. I mean, you're gonna pay, of course, because you're getting an entire box of bones. Here's a bone. What bone is this? Anybody tell me what bone this is? What do you think? What bone is that? I also got this one. This one goes right here, right down here on the right side. I know it's the right side. Nobody can tell me what that bone was. Well, this is okay. This is the femur. Femur's pretty easy, I think. It's got a pretty easy shape to remember. What about this bone? What is this bone right here? Here's the femur. This is not the humerus. No, this is not the humerus. I don't see a head on there, so that can't be the humerus, right? No head. No head. Give you a hint. It's shaped like the letter that it starts with. So what letter does this look like? What do you think? What letter does this bone look like? No one. I don't know. It kind of looks like the letter T, and T for tibia, right? There you go. Thank you, Sharon. T for tibia. Yeah, it looks like a T. Got the flat top up here. Flat top, the tibial plateau. We know geology. We know what a plateau is, of course. Flat top. A friend of mine, the pro wrestler, used to be a pro wrestler anyway. He messed up his knee pretty bad. He broke his tibial plateau and tore his ACL and MCL and PCL and meniscus all at once. It was pretty fun. Oh, great. My child is back in my room. So this will be fun. Oh, hello, Des. Why? Oh.
Guess who decided to art all over him and me?
Yeah, I guess who decided to unlock my door. Get out of here. My children are covered in brown marker now. See, this is what happens when I lock myself in my room for 45 minutes. They end up covered in brown marker. Anyway, so my friend he messed up his knee pretty bad. He got everything reconstructed. The fun thing is he actually finished the match after it happened. He was in the middle of a match when it happened. He finished the match, and the next night he even wrestled on it again. He thought he just like tweaked his knee a little, and I think like the night before the night it happened, he got like an MRI or something. Oh, thank you. Hey, Desi, can you go? Yeah, close that. Thanks. I can actually push it closed with my tibia. There we go. So he wrestled on it the next night. He got an MRI the night it happened, and then the next night after he wrestled on it, they told him, yeah, your knee is destroyed. You can't wrestle anymore. So he was out of action for about 6 months. 6 months. So just that one little move destroyed his knee, and he could not work for 6 months. Not a good thing. But he came back. He was wrestling, and then he broke his neck, and now he no longer wrestles. He is retired. Yeah, fun stuff. So if you have my study guide, actually I can show you the x-ray from his broken neck. It's in here somewhere. Hold on. Almost got it. I'm in the right section. Almost in the right section. Where are we? Yes, there we go. So here's the x-ray from his broken neck. So this is cervical fusion surgery. So they kind of they fuse these vertebrae and then put screws and pins in there to hold it in place. So he has really no movement between C1 and C2. So that's the same injury that Christopher Reeve suffered. Christopher Reeve, Superman, of course, old Superman. He was paralyzed, broke his neck in a horse riding accident. And only about 5 people who suffer that injury actually survive. So because his neck was so strong, he survived. So yeah, fun stuff. I asked him, hey, can I use your x-rays in my book? He's like, yeah, go for it. I'm like, okay, then I will. And I have. So yeah, that's a fun story. And how that surgery is typically done is they typically go in through the front here, and then they fuse the vertebrae on the front. But because of where his surgery or where the fractures were, C1 and C2, they couldn't go that high up through the front, so they had to go in the back. And he's got this really big scar going down the back of his neck. It's pretty wild. So if you knew who it was, you could look up the photos, but I'm not sure I can reveal his name. But he was relatively popular, I suppose, a few years ago. Anyway, so tibia. Hey, this is off topic, but your flashcard and practice test guide in 2020 is updated, right? Or did you make a 2021 version? I can feel the hostility, Amanda. Like I'm talking to my own Amanda. No, I have not done a 2021 version. I probably won't do a 2021 version for the practice test and flashcards. It's I got a lot of work going on right now. I'm not sure I can dedicate enough time to doing that. And I have a new program that I'm using to write my study guides, and it's going to take a little bit of time to learn how to use that. So I have to get started on the 2022 version of my study guide pretty soon, just to make sure it's done. Because like I said, it's a completely new program to me, so I got to really make sure that I know what I'm doing with it. I can't put it off. So, test is in December. If I don't reschedule, well, again, how comfortable are you with the test? Because if you're not comfortable yet, I would reschedule, at least push it out a couple weeks. Okay. So, like I said, I recommend about 6 weeks of studying if you feel like you need 6 weeks of studying. Some people are, well, you have to be honest with yourself. Okay. And we're all, it's an honest group, right? We're all completely honest with ourselves and know when we should be ready and when we shouldn't be ready. And if you're not ready, there's nothing wrong with admitting you're not ready. If you are ready, if you feel confident and you are ready, then go for it and see what happens. Now, of course, I don't guarantee that you're going to pass the test, right? There's no way for me to guarantee you're going to pass it because I'm not you and I'm not taking the test. If it were me, I'd guarantee that I'm going to pass the test. But yeah, test anxiety is not. Test anxiety is one of those things where it's hard to overcome, but there are ways for you to overcome. And that might be another tutoring session that I do is study skills and test taking techniques and how to reduce test anxiety and get you as prepared as possible for all of those things. So it's the more prepared you are, the less anxious and nervous you're going to be about the test, right? So if you, and that's why I say, like, I guarantee I would pass the MBLEx. One, because I have passed the MBLEx. I've passed the national exam. I've passed every test put in front of me, but I know the content. So if I am tested on this content, like, I'm going to pass it, right? I don't get super nervous when I'm confronted with one of these tests. So, obviously the easiest thing to say is if you know the information, you're not going to be stressed out about it. But of course, it's a big test. It's a life-changing test. You pass this test, you get to be a massage therapist. It's an exciting test. And that's kind of, hold on one sec. What is the website for tutoring? Do I just email you? You go to mblextestprep.com. You'll see a link at the top that says tutoring, and you click on that, and that'll take you to the registration page for the tutoring that I have scheduled for this coming Sunday. Okay. What was I saying? See, I lose track of what I was saying too easily, it seems. So the test, if you are prepared for it, you're not going to be as stressed out. And again, your definition of prepared is different than my definition of prepared. And one of the easy ways to figure it out, listen, I don't want to keep acting like I'm shilling for products, but I do have that tutoring session coming up with a brand new practice test that I just wrote, and I tried as hard as I could to make it as similar to the MBLEx as possible. And obviously, I don't know what questions are on the MBLEx. I just don't know, but I know it's worded really weirdly because I've taken the test, and I try to mimic that as much as possible and throw in like scenario-based questions, which I know are a big thing on the MBLEx. Okay, so there is always that to see how prepared you are. Okay. Now, some people go into a test and they are supremely confident that they're going to pass, and then when they don't, they get completely dejected and they feel like they're a failure. And it's not, you can't look at it like that. Okay. It's a hard test. Like I said, it's a life-changing test. If you don't pass it, it's okay. Just look at it as, consider it like a practice test that you pay $200 for, or $250 for now. Outrageous that they upped the price for that. So just look at it like that. Okay. And what I recommend people do if they have my study guide is if they fail the test, what they should do immediately. I know it's going to be hard because you've been studying and putting in time and you're really disappointed in stuff and you probably don't want to think about it. But what you need to do immediately is open up my study guide and highlight absolutely everything you saw on the MBLEx that's in my study guide, and then make an extra effort to really hone in on that stuff. That doesn't mean you're going to be tested on all that stuff again, but there is a high likelihood that you're going to get at least some of that information on your test again. So you'll be even more prepared the next time. So even if you got it wrong the first go around, you might get it right the second time. And who knows, it could be that one question that you get right the second time that could result in you passing. Okay. So you, with testing, you always got to have kind of a positive outlook. Okay. So just because you may fail doesn't mean you're a failure. Just because you didn't pass doesn't mean you won't pass. It's just another step that you are going to take on your journey to passing the exam. Okay. So again, it's even on those questions where you find information that my kids are driving me crazy. Even in those questions where you get information that isn't in my study guide, because you will have information that's not in my study guide. And I wish people understood that as well. I don't know everything that's on the MBLEx. If I did, I'd just write all the test questions out for you and make it easy. But I don't. Sorry. It's just how it works. So if you get questions on stuff that isn't in my study guide, write that information down too, so that you study that information too. Make flashcards out of all that information. Okay. Do research on the stuff that you didn't get right, and that can prepare you for the next time you take it. Okay. So if you end up failing the test, it's not the end of the world. It's, like I said, it's just another step that you're going to take on this journey towards passing the MBLEx, right? So maybe that can help with test anxiety too. Just understanding that you're going to try your hardest to pass. You want to pass. That's the goal, right? You're going to try as hard as you can to pass. But if it doesn't happen, it will be okay. And you're going to be more prepared the next time for the MBLEx, right? Got it? I hope that was as motivating for you as it was for me. I don't know. Just keep your head up. Keep your head up. Okay. It's not the end of the world. Lots and lots of people fail the MBLEx. I have students of mine that I've taught in person that have failed the MBLEx. It's just something that happens, right? I can't take the test for you, unfortunately. I'd take it for everybody if I could, but I can't. Right? So not everybody's going to pass. It's the people that fail and then say, you know what, I'm not giving up after failing this test. Those are the ones that put in the time and put in the effort towards studying even harder and preparing even harder. And those are the ones that make it. And it might take another test. It might take another 2 attempts at passing the test. I've had students that failed the test 4 times and passed it on their 5th try, but they stuck with it and then they passed because, man, I had one student that failed it 4 times. She was in my class. Man, she probably sat through my class like 3 times. So she put in 120 hours of studying with me, and I can barely tolerate myself. I don't know how other people can tolerate me that much, but she put in the time. She put in the effort. She knew the information. She just had really, really, really bad test anxiety, but she got through it. Okay. And if she can get through it, so can you. Okay. So don't stress out too much. Just understand, like, again, everything will be okay. Now, if you move to a different state, do you have to retake the test? You shouldn't. It all depends on which state you're moving to, though. Some states don't require the MBLEx, and they have their own test, like New York. And I think Hawaii also has their own test. Some states just don't have a licensing exam. I think Minnesota is one of those that doesn't have a licensing exam. So it all depends on which state you're trying to move to. Okay. Let me see. Looking in my box of bones. Got my skull here. Has anybody seen Game of Thrones? Of course. Be the mountain. Crush a skull. Anyway. I'm trying to figure out. All right. Are there any other questions while I'm here? Any other questions? Because I do have to start wrapping this up pretty soon, in the next few minutes. So, any last questions while I'm here? Because if not, I'm going to keep shilling my book. So, again, I do have this book, MBLEx Test Prep Comprehensive Study Guide and Workbook 2021 edition. It's about 30 pages longer than the 2020 version. Lots of new stuff in here. A lot of it's the same stuff. So if you have the 2020, it's fine. You're fine. I would not update this unless I had to. My competition likes to update their books every year, so I have to keep up. Otherwise, people will think it's completely outdated when it's actually not. What you're going to do. But I got a brand new medical terminology practice test in here. A lot of new assignments. My kid is now trying to get in. Yeah, he's in. All right. Can you go brush the cats? Yeah, go brush the cats. Thank you. He has a cat brush. What? It's driving me nuts. Close the door with my femur. So, brand new medical terminology practice tests, some new assignments, updated assignments. I updated some of the practice test questions. One of the most important parts, of course, I keep saying scenario-based questions like the MBLEx. I have 35 scenarios written for this book. Look at this. I'm trying to turn the pages slowly. 35 scenarios. Whereas the 2020 book only has 20. This one has 35. So you get even more scenarios that you can kind of dissect and figure out, what's going on with this. And I can help you do the same thing kind of on the MBLEx. So it's not like a complete, it's not completely the same, but gets you in that mode where you're thinking of things in a different way. Hey, Desi, can you go brush the cats? Go, 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 go. Anyway, what else do I have? I also have that tutoring this Sunday. So again, go to my webpage, mblextestprep.com, click the link that says tutoring at the top. The registration page is right there. You can sign up for that. After I get your registration email, I will email you the practice test that you take, but you do not grade. You join the webinar on Sunday, and then we go over it together as a family. What time on Sunday? 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern. I'm in the Pacific time zone, so I like to start things a little earlier, so I get it out of the way, and then I have the rest of the day. Saturday, when I usually do it, is my cheat day, so I like to get my tutoring done early so I can just gorge myself the rest of the day on garbage. So Sunday, 10 o'clock Pacific, 1 o'clock Eastern. And again, you don't have to actually attend. I will send you the video and the audio of the tutoring session afterwards, after I upload everything. So you can study that whenever you need to. It's just like being in the tutoring. It's just like I'm ignoring you the entire time. Okay. So there's that. Again, it's only $10 an hour. So it's only $20 for a complete practice test that I just made. And then we go over it, and it's extremely helpful. One of the most helpful things you can do is actually have a practice test and go over it with me, where I show you the things that you could be doing better on your test. Okay. And if you are interested in the full suite of tutoring that I've already done, again, after this next tutoring session, I'll have 25 hours of tutoring done. Get out, please. No, out. I don't want him. Thank you. My kids are driving me nuts. So again, after this upcoming tutoring session, I've got 25 hours of tutoring done. So if you don't want to sit in class for me and pay $10 an hour for that tutoring, I can get you every tutoring video I've done, into every tutoring audio that I've done, including the upcoming practice test. I can bundle all of those together for you. I can even do a bundle where I include a copy of my study guide and save you a ton of money. So if you're interested in that, shoot me an email, david@mblextestprep.com. That's where you can find me. So it's a pretty good deal, and that will be up on my website pretty soon, probably by the end of the month, like an actual sales page where you can pick that up. But if you want it a lot sooner than that, email me and I can hook you up. Okay, david@mblextestprep.com. Okay, so unless there are any last questions, are there any last questions while I'm still here? All right, cool. Send me an email, Amanda, and I'll send you the deets. The deets. I know who says deets besides me. What a ridiculous thing to say. I'll send you the details. All right. Just shoot me an email. You know where to find me. Any last questions again while I'm here? Thank you for everybody that showed up, and hopefully I helped calm you down about the test a little bit. I know it's a stressful time in the world, period, not just preparing for the MBLEx, but preparing for the MBLEx right now. And I know a lot of schools are closed and you have to do all of your learning online and all that stuff. I feel bad for everybody that has to do that, because that's definitely not ideal in any way, shape, or form. And I wish it could be different, but it's not. And you roll with the punches, and it makes you a stronger student, a stronger therapist. You'll be better for it, I promise. Okay. So if there are no other questions, I have to sign off. My kids are driving me nuts, and so I have to go. I have to go clean the marker off of them because they got into a brown marker and drew all over each other. So exciting night for me. So, anyways, one last time, MBLEx Test Prep Comprehensive Study Guide and Workbook 2021 edition. All this fun stuff. All that fun stuff could be yours. Send me an email. All right. Till next time. I promise it won't be a super long time before I do this again. We'll see. I don't know. Maybe a couple weeks. I don't know. Until next time, this is David, MBLEx Test Prep. Adios, muchachos.